Jakobi Lane, USC. Pretty darn good football player, right? Let's get to it. 6'4", 196 pounds. I think he's a really good football player. He brings a lot of height, and his ability to catch the football wherever it's thrown makes him such an attractive and unique draft pick, because you got to figure out, where do I place him? He's not a Z. You can't move him around, just because I don't believe he gets in and out of his breaks as well as you would like. But he's a big guy who can get active if the ball is just in the area code. And when I mean area code, we're going to show you some film, but when I mean area code, I'm talking about if he's on the 20-yard line and you throw it short to the 30, he has the ability to stretch those arms and catch the football. That's how much that his catch radius is. Mm-hmm. However, he does struggle a little bit to get off the press. We saw that at the Senior Bowl, and I think a lot of teams are starting to look at that. But I'm going to tell you, when we get to the film, I don't necessarily put all of that on the player and put it as a negative. I think some of that has to do with the structure or the lack of teaching that may be going on at USC. So out wide, he's been in his career 82%. In the slot, it drops down to about 17%. Total targets for 2025, 74 targets, 49 receptions. For his career, 149 targets for 99 receptions, 750 yards this year. 236 of that is yak, right? Overall, 1,368 yards total in his career, with 380 yards yak. So that tells me what? Possession receiver. He's not giving you a lot, because a lot of times the corner is draped all over him, because he needs to refresh and learn how to create some free access, right? Only 4 drops last year. In his career, 28. 37 first downs in his career, 76.
Steve, we're doing all of these post-combine because we want to include the measurables into it,
yes,
and then all the film that you're breaking down. What I thought a lot of people, now that we're post-combine, thought of him was, I mean, he had some explosiveness to it, but I want to tie that to the tape in what you see, because he goes 4.47, which is a good number for his size.
For a
sure.
6'4" guy, that's excellent.
Yeah, excellent. And so he has a 40 vert, and then he has a 10.9 broad. So these are some explosive traits. But when I talk to teams, it's like, yeah, a lot of these catches, they're all contested. The defender's right there. Right there. Is that a concern? Like, he's going up and getting some of these. Mm-hmm. I mean, the one-handed in the end zone was just one of the best catches of the year.
He's tried to do that a little bit too much. You know, he's trying to catch that one hand, make that splash catch.
Yeah, and when I'm seeing some of these, I'm going, just in my head, and I'm talking to teams, like, is that going to work at the next level? Is that lack of separation a NFL DB right next to him? Does he have the ability to continue to win those balls? Does he have those traits?
I do believe he does, just because he's been at this height for so long. Right, by observing him in this profession, he's not going to wake up tomorrow and become fast. Just like a short receiver is rarely going to wake up and become 6'1", right? Yeah. And so that is what he has, and he's working with it. He does a really good job. Now, he does get caught up a little bit because he does lack the speed. And because he lacks the speed, man, he doesn't create any separation. But I also don't see any creativity at the line of scrimmage to create some free access for himself as well.
Interesting. So what do you mean by that? What do you want to see when you mention creativity at the line of scrimmage?
Don't give a move and then try to rip, right?
Gotcha.
Because that's a lot of times, that's what all I see is here tries to rip, where no swimming, no movement or anything. No movement at all.
He seems like he likes to get his hands out away from his body.
He does. He does. That's a great job.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm trying to learn from you, man. I'm trying to learn.
That.
I'm watching this stuff differently now that we have all these shows. You know, I'm trying to input a little something to ask these questions to the expert. You know, to see where he's at.
Here's the issue that I have: the 2 biggest games, Week 8 and Week 9, against Notre Dame. Man, I talked to a few scouts, and one of the things that they said, even with Mekhi Lemon, was the Notre Dame game, you circle and watch it. And Steve, get back to me. And here's why. In that game, Jakobi Lane had, passing downs or reception snaps, 50. Bro, they pressed him 24 times. That tells me that they saw something in the game that they felt comfortable, and we would rather press than allow free access, because with free access, it is problematic. So, 15 targets, 7 receptions for 114 yards, right? Completion percentage when targeted was 46%. Now, some people may say, man, that's pretty good. It's not. That was his down game, because overall through his career, almost 60% completion when targeted. So I think that speaks volumes to showing that the Notre Dame game and the Nebraska game, which are back-to-back games that they both lost, was a big issue. Against Nebraska, 26 receiving snaps, pressed 13 times, 6 targets, 2 receptions for 22 yards, and completion percentage when targeted, 33%. So that was a down game for both of these guys. USC didn't win that game, and sometimes the tell of the tape can tell you, but sometimes statistics tell you a lot more. Mm-hmm. And they just confirm exactly some of the doubts or some of the questions that I had. And that, to me, doesn't fall on the player. You know me. You know I'm going to say it. It falls on the play callers and the coaches. And
think so?
Yeah, I think so. Just because there has been, talk to some folks at Nebraska, and the folks in Nebraska said, look, this is the best defensive game that we played. And I had to go back and look at the film and go, why? Because they did the exact same thing that Notre Dame did. They said, look, we're going to put the pass interference calls in the hands of the referee. We're going to let the referee control this. Boy, it was assault. It was all kind of things going on that field. I mean, there were towel grabbing, cleat, jersey grabbing. If the defender can grab you, they can grab you.
Now, how much of that, in some of the stuff, and there's so much we mentioned at the line of scrimmage that he kind of does a couple steps, balls at him, and then he tries to make something happen. Doesn't seem there's a whole lot of yards after the catch. He's always fighting, it seems like. Always fighting for then he gets like a yard or two or falls forward. He's a bigger guy. But I want to specifically drive home that Notre Dame and Nebraska game that you talked about. And where, I don't want to say blame, but where things went wrong to where it falls either on the receiver or the offense's maybe lack of adjustments, and the receiver oftentimes in college and the NFL, Steve, is not set up to succeed by what's happening. So where does it kind of fall?
So let me show you an example. John, bring up that play to show you exactly what we're working with. The fact that I'm going to show you this play really summarizes like how backwards and in over their skis they were for the USC and Notre Dame game, where we're doing things that I'm like, what? Can we audible?
Can we change this up a little bit?
So look at this. It's a 3-by-2. It's a passing down. Look at this. This is man coverage. 100%. They're running a screen. Audible. Get out of this. No, they're not. Watch this play. Look what they're running. Why? Man, audible, you're not having the defense that you are. I doubt when they ran practice, they said, yeah, this play is going to look good against double press. Yes, it already has their mind, right? Look, guy didn't even look at him. That just shows you right there. You know what that's called? That is called script. The inability to read the room. You are such on a script, and you already know what the defense is going to do. You have no ability to think outside of what you've been told.
A play is never a good play, Steve, when a receiver is jumping up and down at the end of it.
No. So those are the things that happen in that game. Mm-hmm. And it can be frustrating at times for the player, and that's when coaches tell players, and players come back and say, hey, what's going on? He's like, Coach, they knew our plays. I don't ever want to hear that they know our plays. Well, of course you don't. But you ain't running the damn play on the field. You're just you're up there in the press box, calling plays and eating popcorn.
Yeah, you're not the one talking to the DB across from you going, knew it.
Yeah.
Easy. Yeah.
Yep. Easy work.
Uh-huh. Exactly. There's a part of his game that I asking around a little bit, was curious about for your opinion, Steve. We mentioned 6'4", running a 4.47, outstanding. But the ability, and he's kind of a strider like some of these guys are that length, the ability to change your pace within your route. It seems like some teams I talk to think that's kind of lacking. Like the route is run at one pace, period. Is that something that it's a feel thing? How do you change that? How do you add that? Because you were good at that. It's all tempo within the route of changing things. And he seems like he's a strider, got some speed, but that ability to kind of lure a defender back and forth with the way you change your pacing in a route. Is that something he can learn? Is that something that you see is lacking? Where do you see that kind of trait within the way he runs routes?
Well, one of the biggest things I wrote down is no speed. He's a possession receiver that gets a little high in his routes. Yes, he can learn. How effective and how comfortable is he in doing it? That falls on him. That's where we talk about fits, organizations, coaches. That's where all that comes into play, because you got to be able to be coached out of it or into it, and there has to be a comfortability that the player actually believes what the coach is asking you to do. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes the coach can say, hey, just do this, but if you've rarely done it before or never have done it before, man, you're going to fall into the old bad habits that got you drafted, that got you at the combine, got you to the Senior Bowl, and I don't think that's a bad thing, right? Mm-hmm. Right? Oh, no. So you fall into what you're comfortable with, right? And when I say that is I learned over my career, I learned multiple offenses. Mm-hmm. And because I learned multiple offenses, no matter what offense I was in, there were always a few routes that I associated that route to an old offense. So when I heard it, I said, oh, it's this play, which allowed me to play faster, which allowed me to get into my route comfortably, because the route that I remember it was, I go, oh, I know what it is. I was Mesa zipper. Cool, Mesa, I'm running a little under. Bang. But that wasn't the play. That was just how I learned it when I first got to the league. And so it's stuck in my head as that a word association. So when we were in the game where I'm in Baltimore, Carolina, where I'm with Jeff Davison, Dan Henning, Shula, Chud, it didn't matter. Gary Kubiak, Mark Trestman, that was the play that I associated it with, and that helped me. And what did it do? It helped me play fast. It helped me play without thinking, and I started reacting.
I like that. Because it's not like this isn't a knock. It doesn't seem like every route in the route tree is for Jakobi Lane.
No, it's not. And not every receiver has the ability to run every route.
100%
take a Julio Jones. Man, Julio Jones, he runs routes that ain't on a route tree because he's so gifted that he got his own damn route tree.
He's like, I'm gonna get off this tree. I'm gonna go down I'm gonna create my own tree. In terms of red zone target, is this where you see him making his hay in the NFL? Like this is a red zone player?
Yes, it's a red zone player. It takes a lot of people a long time to figure out that they are not as good in the red zone, right? And he is he's a great red zone threat because of his 40-inch vertical, because of his 6'4" stature, and his
he catches
ability.
It all.
Yes,
He's
his
good at
ability
that.
to go up there. So now you add 40-inch vertical, confidence of snagging the ball. Man, you know what I say for the DB? T's and P's, baby. Thoughts and prayers.
Yeah, I look at that going like, man, when you're lining up against him and you're going, I know this guy is a 40-inch vertical. I know he's 6'4". I know he loves to catch the ball above his head and away from his body. He's pretty good. He did that at the combine, by the way. If you watch him, and I know this is the drill you like, the gauntlet drill is the one you like.
He was smooth in the gauntlet.
He was real smooth, and he did not get good balls. Like, he did not get good balls thrown to him at all.
He did not. And I thought he displayed, two things that he did in that gauntlet drill that some of the players didn't do. He was running full speed. He wasn't tiptoeing through that gauntlet. He was running through that gauntlet like a man on a mission. And he was pluckability, smooth. He was catching dump, dump.
Yeah. He really was, because if you remember, because I know you've been down in the field with this before, they wear the trackers for the combine stuff. He had one of the fastest miles per hour during the gauntlet drill among the wide receivers. So you did, it matches the eye test that you had.
There were some guys who was Pink Panthering through the gauntlet, right? They were do. So love that.
Pink Panthering through the gauntlet. He is on the younger side a little bit age-wise. Do you see him putting on weight? Do you see him getting more physical? Some teams I talked to, Steve said he might be a little bit, for a bigger guy, because he's kind of a basketball-y type player guy, a little bit lighter in the feet, a little bit in terms of for a bigger guy. Do you see him adding to his frame, or do you like where he's at 200?
It really just depends on...
That was the combine weight, was 200. Yeah.
So it depends on how he looks once he's going to naturally gain some weight because he's going to be a professional football player, and a professional football player, a ton of protein, lifting. So he's going to be doing things that his body's going to be like, hey, what is this? And so he's going to add some muscle, and muscle weighs more. But the real test is going to be if and when he gains this weight, soft tissue injuries. How does his hamstrings and quads feel? Right? Are you putting too much stress with the weight on there? And that's one of the biggest things for me, the nutrition and science of football, is how does a guy, soft tissue, how does his joints handle the new weight?
Yep. Okay. Well, a couple teams I talked to said this guy is expected to be an early day 3 pick. Early day 3. Does he have a chance, and we'll do one at the end of this whole process, does he have a chance to get into your top 20? Or TBD?
TBD.
TBD?
Yeah. Just because...
Well, that means there's a chance.
Yeah.
I mean, Lloyd Christmas and Dumb and Dumber would say, so you're saying there's a chance.
Just because there's the top 5 guys who are fighting, right? Yeah. And Omar Cooper Jr. is moving up. Omar Cooper Jr. is moving up in that top 3, top 4 guy. I think he may split.
Everybody keep an eye out.
He may split some folks where a guy was here and then all of a sudden he drops because he leapfrogged.
And there's guys that are moving during this process, by the way, as we wrap this up, because like Chris Bell, as people are seeing these videos of him working out as he's coming back from the injury, teams start going, okay, well, I think he's coming along pretty well here. Like, I think he might be a little bit ahead, you know what I mean? Then you start changing towards April when you start going, hey, he's really coming along in the process.
Well, you just got to make sure what doctor's looking at him. If it's the same doctor that looked at Max Crosby, who knows what can happen.
Oh boy! What a scene that was. Can you look at a couple plays here, Steve, for us? Can we get a little bit of that Steve Smith Senior breakdown?
Man, I guess so. I mean,
I appreciate it.
If that's what you really want,
it is. It's what everybody wants, man. That's why we got these subscribers.
If that's what you really want, I guess I can do it. I guess so. The film on Jakobi Lane is he's such a dynamic football player. He can do some things, but if you don't press him up, that's a problem.
Yeah.
So let me show you some plays when you don't press him up, what he's capable of doing. Let me show you some plays that just not. Right here, he's down at so right here, he is down at the bottom. Right there, look. See, you talk about getting high, right? that's just a young kid. Now, love the towel action. I just had to go
flashback,
but man, I really love that.
I know.
So here's where it gets interesting, right? Boom. So not really elusive, right? You just kind of get what you get out of him. But, so he's down here at the bottom in the slot. See what I'm talking about?
That was the same move you were talking about earlier, Steve.
Yes. Right? That's not gonna get you. That's not gonna get it there. So you already see you got the defender right here, right? Mm-hmm. And he's already showing you that he's cutting you off, and now you're forcing it. And all he just tries to do is big boy him. Mm-hmm. I need more than that. I really do. I need more than that. Here we go right here. Man, I really think this play says a lot for me that you just don't see this out of the young player. But I love seeing it. Watch. Tall guy, 6'4". Boom. Stems inside. Yeah.
That's a good route.
Yes. Man, really impressive, bro. Really impressive. But that's what off coverage.
Yeah. Steve, like in that route, and it just seemed like that he had more like urgency in the route. Like he had more of a mission to him.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Than what you see in some of the other ones.
Now, this is where what I say releases are questionable. Right? So, boom, that works. That's perfect. But
does that work on Sunday?
That works on Sunday if you are the third or fourth corner, yes. But that's not working against Patrick Surtain at all. Just showing you some plays that really can display what he could be, what his effectiveness is. But yes, there's a limited route tree. However, there's also some other plays. So this play right here, this is a good play. It just shows. Now, I question everything about the release. +3 from the hash, -3 from the numbers, which indicates that they're going to motion outside. When they motion outside, corner already knows. Corner's like, hey. So what does he do? You get the linebacker, and he comes out, he backs up and says, hey, I don't want to get ran by. So again, he puts hands on him, and bang, look at that. But he comes up with the catch.
Yeah, so came back to the ball pretty well there.
He comes back to the ball. Now he's a kind of a hopper back to the ball, but you know that's part of understanding the type of player that you have. But again, if it is thrown in his vicinity, he is going to catch the football. Look at that.
It's going back.
Man, that's a great catch. So, I like what he brings to the table. I like what he can be. Man, it's really just the perfect fit for him, right?
Okay.
And in the perfect fit, you can't expect this kid just because he's 6'4" to all of a sudden he answers all your troubles. He can't fix that. So for me, my comp, you ready for this one? My comp reminds me very much of the SMU guy, Sutton.
Whoa.
Courtland Sutton.
Courtland Sutton. Now he's not built like Courtland Sutton.
No, he's not, but he does.
But I see the style of play.
Style of
sense.
Play, yes.
Yeah.
The style of play.
Court is a physical player.
Yes, he is.
I'd like to see Jakobi Lane get to that if he can.
Yeah.
That would be great because Courtland is
he's hard to
get around. He bodies. Yeah.
He fights through contact. He gets around guys. He doesn't outrun guys, but he maneuvers through to make it work.
Yeah. I like that. Hey, I think whatever team gets him, if he becomes Courtland Sutton, they will be over the moon. Yeah. If that's what he becomes.